Thank you for listening to this PodcastOne production. Available on Apple Podcasts and PodcastOne.
Does this sound familiar? I'm not going very far. I'm in a rush. It's too uncomfortable. Sometimes I just forget. Don't kid yourself. There's no such thing as a good excuse for not buckling up. If you've used any of these excuses or any others, you're putting yourself at risk of injury or death. In 2017, more than 10,000 people were unbuckled when they were killed in crashes. That's 51% of people killed in motor vehicle crashes that were not wearing their seat belts. No matter what kind of vehicle you drive, wearing your seatbelt is the best defense in a crash. Even when you sit in the back seat, you still need to buckle up. That goes for when you ride in taxis and use ride-sharing services too. Cops are on the lookout and writing tickets, so why take the risk? In 2017 alone, seatbelts saved nearly 15,000 lives. So do the smart thing and buckle up every trip, day or night. Click it or ticket, and that's the bottom line.
The following program is a PodcastOne.com production.
From Hollywood, California, by way of the Broken Skull Ranch, this is the Steve Austin Show.
Give me a hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Now, here's Steve Austin.
All right, everybody, welcome to Steve Austin Show. I am currently out on vacation, recharging batteries, but just because I'm recharging the batteries, we still got business to take care of. In the meantime, we'll be playing some of the most requested Steve Austin Show classics that have been locked away in the archives. I got a great one for you this week, and here's my producer, Sean, to tell you all about it.
Thank you, Steve, and welcome everybody to another classic episode of the Steve Austin Show. It's producer Sean. Hope everybody had a wonderful and safe Memorial Day weekend. We get right back into it today with episode number 187, Diamond Dallas Page. Original air date, January 20th, 2015. This is one of many times that DDP has been on the podcast. Him and Steve, of course, former roommates in Marina Del Rey, SoCal. Steve referenced that a lot of times. And, of course, spending a lot of time working in WCW together. So Steve and DDP have talked a lot on this podcast, and it's always a good time. This one in particular comes around the time that Diamond Dallas Page was just finishing up the Resurrection of Jake Roberts documentary. And Steve and DDP talk about the documentary in length, just about the incredible story that is told throughout about the recovery of Jake the Snake Roberts. And this is just around the time where the DDPY Performance Center is just being built in Smyrna, Georgia. As of 2019, it's going strong. It is going strong, and you can go there and you can learn from the master himself. And the app hasn't been dropped yet, the DDPY app, but as you've heard many times on this podcast with our promotions of DDPY, the app is incredible. So a lot of cool stuff percolating for Diamond Dallas Page around this time. But yeah, just DDP putting his nose to the grindstone. He's an awesome guy. I love hearing him on this podcast. He is just so many stories and so much energy and just rad all around. They do talk a little bit of wrestling too. They talk about DDP wrestling Goldberg, his work with Randy Savage, because Randy Savage was just announced to be going into the WWE Hall of Fame around this time. Also Eddie Guerrero. We talk about some ribs on the road. So a good chunk of wrestling talk for all you folks out there. Also, this is something that I didn't know, and I'm gonna have to work on this when Steve gets back into the swing. But Steve is talking about in this podcast about going to meet a psychic and recording it for the podcast. I think that would be a really interesting episode, and hopefully that's something we can coordinate when the current episodes of the Steve Austin Show return. This day in Steve Austin history, today being May 28th. It's a big day, as you'll see later on when we get to it. But 1992, we'll start off in WCW. 1992 in Raleigh, North Carolina, WCW World Champion Sting and Nikita Koloff defeated WCW TV Champion Steve Austin and Arn Anderson in a steel cage match. We stay in North Carolina in 1994. WCW International World Champion Sting, Dustin Rhodes, and Johnny B. Bad defeated WCW US Champion Stunning Steve Austin, Bobby Eaton, and Bunkhouse Buck in a six-man tag. Then we get to the WWF 1996 in North Charleston, South Carolina. This is the redo of In Your House, Beware of Dog. The original airing of the pay-per-view had some weather problems, so if you were in attendance, the power went out, and they did wrestling matches in the dark, which I do believe there's footage of. You know, they basically had the first couple matches, and then they got to the main event, which where they were able to show British Bulldog against Shawn Michaels for the WWF World title. I watched it live on the original pay-per-view airing, and I remember that because you were able to be like, hey, I lost out my pay-per-view that I paid $20 for in 1996. How can I get that, compensated? And they let you pick up the retaping on the following Tuesday, which not only was it just a pay-per-view redo, but they also taped matches for WWF Superstars. WWF Beware of Dog, the redo, featured Savio Vega defeating Stone Cold Steve Austin with Ted DiBiase in his corner in a Caribbean strap match. Now, due to pre-match stipulations, Ted DiBiase was forced to leave the WWF, and as it comes out later, Steve Austin says, yeah, I didn't care about being managed by Ted DiBiase anymore, so I threw the match. That's kind of the line they used on TV. But also at this taping, and this is a very low-key, iconic thing that, well, it's not a low-key thing, but it's a very iconic moment. But we have a match. Stone Cold Steve Austin defeated Jason Arndt, a.k.a. Joey Abs, with the Stunner. Normal result. But this being 1996, this would have been the TV debut of the Stone Cold Stunner, which ended up airing on June 6th, 1996. From what I understand, I don't believe he was using the Stunner up until this point. He was still using the $1 Million Dream as his finish, but Steve started using the Stunner at this particular taping. So if you were in attendance in 1996, you could have seen the very first Stunner live and in person, and it didn't air until June 8th, but this is where it happened. Finally, in 2001, we have WWF in Calgary, Alberta, Canada for WWF Raw taping. WWF World Champion Steve Austin defeated WWF Tag Team Champion Chris Benoit. The match ended when Steve Austin had Chris Benoit in the sharpshooter, and Vince McMahon rang the bell, guess as a homage to the Montreal incident. That is your day in Steve Austin history, today being May 28th. I got my information from the history of WWE.com. All right, coming right up, we've got Diamond Dallas Page on a classic episode of the Steve Austin Show.
Hey, we here at the Steve Austin Show have a favorite four-letter F word. Free. F-R-E-E. That's why it's our privilege to introduce you to your new favorite streaming service, Pluto TV. Believe us, you're going to dig it. Pluto TV is the leading free streaming television service. Watch over 100 TV channels and thousands of movies on demand, all completely free. There's also a ton of options for sports, with pro wrestling and MMA available. Pluto TV never asks for a credit card. You don't even need to sign up to watch free. Pluto TV is the easy and completely legal way to watch your favorite TV shows and hit movies for free. And the best part, you can download Pluto TV for free on all your favorite devices today, including your phone, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV, Smart TVs, PlayStation, and anywhere else you stream. What are you waiting for? Never pay for TV again by downloading Pluto TV. Get more info at Pluto.tv.
This is the Steve Austin Show.
All right, everybody sitting here talking to my good buddy Diamond Dallas Page over at ATL, Atlanta, Georgia. DDP, how you doing?
Unstoppable right now, bro.
Unstoppable. That sounds pretty enthusiastic.
Well, I'm leaving tomorrow morning for Park City, the big Slam Dance Film Festival. Slam Dance and Sundance, they run their festivals at the same time. And the resurrection of Jake the Snake, something I gave you a private viewing not too long ago. Yep. It got accepted in the film festival, and me, Jake, Scott Hall, we're going out there. I'm bringing my whole crew with me. We rented some big multi-million-dollar house to put the boys up in, and pay them off for working so hard over these last 2 years. And, Jake and Scott, I swear to God, I have never seen them more just focused on life and just doing great, So we got a bunch of little things we're gonna do there. We're gonna get a little buzz, as far as the buzz that's going around Park City.
You go with the buzz about Jake the Snake Roberts' resurrection. Y'all aren't personally gonna go out and get a buzz.
No, right. No.
See what I did there?
No, I see what you did there. They're buzz free when it comes to that right now, which
is
a good thing.
Talk about the resurrection of Jake the Snake Roberts. How long did it take you to film that?
It was right at around 2 years, a little less than that, and when we went down there to Gainesville, Texas, to see Jake, he was about the lowest, I didn't ever think he was not just going to be that low, but that beat up and, 307 pounds and all of it in his stomach and just so weak and fragile. And, we both know because we've watched his career and we were just like awed by his career, that for him to walk away from the business with things like Beyond the Mat being his, what people are going to remember him by.
Right.
It never worked for me. And that Jake helped me a lot. He taught me a lot about the psychology of the wrestling business. And he made me learn it on a lot of different levels, but he was such a great mentor at times. And I always wanted to pay him back for it. I always say without Dusty Rhodes, there is no Diamond Dallas Page. But without Jake Roberts, I'm never, the guy that, becomes a 3-time world champion. I'm just not that guy. And I wanted to pay him back. And my goal was to change people's perception of where Jake Roberts was. I knew it was going to take a lot of work, not as much as it did, but I knew it was going to take a lot of work and a lot of patience. But my goal, again, on top of that, was to change the WWE's perception of Jake the Snake Roberts, because, he'd been gone from there and banned and exiled for a good 16 years. For him to have gone the whole route and for, to end up doing Old School Raw last year at this time, and then for them to have inducted not just Jake, but Scott Hall in the same year where they both got sober and then, fell down and got sober and fell down and got sober. In the same year, in the same house, man. I inducted Jake on my birthday, Steve. It was a great day.
Well, say, when you decided to do this, you financed this, you're the money behind this. Did you think that it was going to take 2 years, or 2 years was the goal all along, or did the process change as you were just kind of filming on the fly? Because it's not like you do all the videos and the stuff that you do. You've been doing it for a long time, since I used to live with you, but I don't know that you've ever made a movie, correct?
Right. And there's a lot of things I never did before that I ended up doing.
Yeah, a lot of learning on the way.
Yeah.
But how did you maintain focus, or just maintain a train of thought as to what the end goal would be? And obviously you wanted to paint Jake in a better light than Beyond the Mat did. And you did. Like I said, I saw the preview, which I saw with you, but y'all made some modifications to it. I'm looking forward to seeing how it does at Slam Dance. But so how much of a learning experience was this for you?
It was a great learning experience. And you got to remember, there was a guy, and you've heard me talk about him before, Steve Yu,
right,
who came into this, and he is the brain behind the story that brought out the emotion. Because, you got to remember, a lot of stuff they won't show me till it's done. And at the end, I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. It's too personal. That's too heavy. And there were times over this period, if we weren't doing the YouTubes, because there's times I would argue with Steve, no, that's too much. And he would go, but it's real. And then I would come back to it and, I made sure once it went out that, oh my God, he was right. And wow, he could tell a story. He's the guy who put together the Arthur video.
Right.
That friggin' got over 11 million views on it. So the guy really knows how to tell a story. All we did was live in it. And we filmed everything. And I don't think it would be anywhere near as good as it is if we didn't do all those YouTubes, because we use a lot of pieces of, from the YouTube. But trying to tell a really, a story, like when Scott Hall called us up, or should I say when I called Scott, and it was a 12-minute phone call. Well, that was a heavy, heavy phone call when he was drinking vodka for breakfast, and by the time we got to the end of it and it was edited, it's like a 3-minute piece, but it gets everything in there and it's really emotional. And to see the transformation that Scott Hall has gone through, man, I got to tell you, these last 3 months, because, after the Hall of Fame, both of those guys, they hit a bad spot. Because you're at that level, you're so high up of where you are now.
Well, talk about the bad spot. What do you mean they hit a bad spot?
Well, they got, they fell off. They got, they started drinking. Jake was only one day, and he did it twice. Scott was for, a couple days. But then he got to a point, and one of the things that, as I go through this, it's like, what do you learn from your mistakes? That's what life's all about to me. You can make all the mistakes you need to make. What do you learn from them? Scott Hall said something to me about a month and a half ago. And he said, Dally, I know I'm always going to have adversities here and there. He said, but one for sure, I know is not going to be. It ain't going to be drinking. And I just looked at him and I was like, seriously? He's like, seriously. And he said it to me again. He's going on, it's been like 4 months now that on his own, and they're taking the deal, they're taking that antabuse thing,
right,
which makes it where there's not a choice, but no one's making them take it. They're taking it on their own, which to me is humongous, so, to have both of them in the spot right now where they're looking forward to their life. Jake just went on the road, bro. He just went on the road. He did 9 different events. 5 of them were what Jake's calling his unspoken word. And he goes out and does an hour, got people laughing, crying, just going through Jake's stories. Because,
So what is an unspoken word?
Well, spoken word is something that is given out to, like, people come and do, like, lectures. But they're funny, they're heartwarming, they're storytellers. Well, Jake, because I told him, he kept calling it his comedy show. And I'm like, dude, you're not a comedian. No. You're funny, but you're not a comedian. It's more like an unspoken word thing. So, of course, Jake, to bust my chops, he's got to change it up and call it his unspoken word. And it's just a rib back on me.
Right, gotcha.
But but he got like rave reviews. People really put him over. He did it. He's on the road with his daughter.
Well, how many daughters does Jake have?
I believe he's got 4 daughters and 4 sons. He's got 8 kids.
Now this daughter that's with him, how old is she?
She's 30 right now.
Well, man, how close are they now? Were they able to mend the relationship, and they're pretty damn tight right now, you would say?
Yeah, dude, I'll tell you, after she saw the movie for the first time, because we played it a couple different places to just get people's feedback, because we want to tell the best story, but we want to tell the realest story. Well, here's a girl who I met Cody. Remember when I told you Jake would mentor me? And I would go to his house. This is after he moved in with me, after he lost his snake, after he went back with his wife, got remarried. This Cody, I known her since she was like 7 years old.
Right.
So, to see her now, and when she saw the resurrection of Jake the Snake, she came around the corner and I was standing there. She grabbed me. She was crying. I never thought I'd get my dad back. It's really, it's emotional. When I watch people in the theater who watch it, it's not like crying, weeping. It's those tears that come out of the side of your face, and then just roll down your cheeks because it's so emotional and grabs you. And, it was funny for me because you and I saw about maybe, I guess it would be like maybe the 7th pass through of editing it and everything. And, after the 6th one, I didn't well up. I didn't, tears didn't come out my sides of my eyes because like anything, you get used to it. You get numb to it. You watch it. Well, then they kept editing it. And now this is like pass 14. And I come home and my fiance, Brenda, she goes, "You going to watch the movie tonight?" She said, "Yeah." She goes, "This is the best one yet." And we get to that last 15 minutes. And all of a sudden I feel it in my heart. I feel like someone grabbing it. And then I feel like that flutter comes over me and I'm like, no. And I'm literally saying to myself, Steve, no, you're not getting me again. And then sure as hell, dude, tears come outside my face. So I sent it to, our buddy Mark Carano, right?
Right.
And he calls me up. He says, "You son of a gun." He goes, "You got me. You got me." He said, "I played the last 15." I didn't say anything to him. I just sent it to him. He said, "The last 15 minutes, I cried every time."
Now, which cut did I see?
You saw about 7. You saw about level 7 that went through.
Okay, so you guys are going to take this to Slam Dance, which coincides with Sundance. It gets played there. So then you're going to make it available on the website? What are you going to do with it?
It's who goes in and buys it. Like who decides they want to put it somewhere. Like we want it to get seen. So it may be Netflix buys it, you know what I mean? Or maybe, like, that's what happened with Mick Foley's movie. I think Santa Claus, I Am Santa Claus, got bought by Netflix. And they only get it for a certain amount of time. You know, then, your dream is that HBO or Showtime, will want it, But there's so many ways for it to get out there. And probably in a relatively short while, we don't want to put it out there for sale until we do, like, there's a couple other film festivals that we want to go to. And, we want to bring Scott, and we do the whole thing. Listen to this PR thing, Stephen. You will love this because you'll so get it. Like, people already, we're all 6'4" to 6'6". So just the three of us walking, no matter what's going to gain people's looking at us. But once they realize it's us, it's like, oh my God, then it turns into an autograph. And of course, there's another autograph. Well, what we're going to do, there's the guys for my 58th birthday designed this poster, and it's a ladder, and I'm in between the ladder, and Scott's going up one side, and Jake's going up the other with a snake. And it looks like I'm about to push the ladder over or hold the ladder steady. Like, which one is it, But it's a really amazing painting. And we made that the poster. So we blew up the posters, and they're 20 inches by about 14 inches. We're going to be in the middle of Park City, right on their main drive, go right to the middle of the road because there's no cars. We're going to stand there and sign the posters, 50 to 100 at a clip, where people will get their autographs from me, Jake, and Scott on this poster. Where are they going to put it? They're going to fold it up and put it in their pocketbook. They got to walk around with walking posters. So on Thursday, anybody who is in Park City who happens to find us, and we'll probably sign about 400 or 500 of them, because Friday morning at 10:30 we kick off Slam Dance with the first showing. So people are going to know we're there, and then we come back on Tuesday night for the second showing, and dude, it's so many the years of work put into this, but to see both of these guys sober and getting relationships back, like Cody's out in Japan right now. He's with New Japan. Scott brought Cody here when, they got their stuff reunited again, and, he's got a relationship with his daughter now. This is about family and just buddies, helping each other.
Well, talking about family and buddies, you and me pretty much like family. So, I don't come cheap, Dallas. But if you fly me out there to Park City, Utah, man, put a sandwich sign on me. Man, you stick a couple of them posters on the front and back. I got a sandwich sign. Got a megaphone.
I'll call you out on that. Don't say that. You don't mean it.
Put me on a jet, fly me to Park City. I'm your guy. Can you see Stone Cold Steve Austin out there with the sandwich sign? Yeah,
I'm telling
you, I smell money, brother. I smell money. Hey, dude, let's shift gears a little bit, man. I got problems over here in Marina Del Rey. Got big problems.
What problem?
Oh, man. We had been gone for about 6 weeks in Christmas, and we come back, because I was down at the Broken Skull Ranch hunting, doing work, my yearly vacation is about 2 months in South Texas. We came back. And, man, we had these little brown things on the floor, and we're like, it kind of looked like a big piece of rice. And it was right underneath our attic. And we're like, man, what the hell is going on? Now, Chris had thought I was walking around eating brown rice, and I dropped a bunch on the floor.
Well, not that could happen.
Yeah, not that could happen. What it ended up being, it was like the larva stages of maggots. And so I got into the hallway. You've been in my house in the hallway. I got that.
Sure.
You go through up the ladder and you push that trap door open and you get in my attic. Well, what had happened while we were gone, we'd set a rat trap up there and caught a rat. Well, during the time we was gone, that thing had decomposed. And then by the time it decomposed so bad, the maggots got in there. And when those maggots go into the larva stage or the pupa stage, whatever it is, I guess they can vibrate in there and they can move and travel basically. And so they can wobble or shake themselves across the floor. And then we had a couple on our island in our kitchen. You know, the island we have in our kitchen? We saw a couple of there. Well, that's what I was thinking. I said, man, how in the flying hell did they jump up on the island? Because it's 4 feet tall. What had happened was I think they motivated themselves across the attic and had fallen through the holes, where the recessed lighting is.
Oh,
so anyway, but it was like this big ass mystery. We're like, man, where are these things coming from? And I'm thinking something like Amityville Horror. The house is not possessed, but there's some kind of germ thing going on. And then, so anyway, that's when I popped the hatch up there, got up on the ladder, and found those maggots moving around on top of the few that had hatched up there. So I get some poison, squirt them all down, and then so Kristen gets on a horn, and immediately ASAP. DEFCON 5 gets on the phone to Terminix and calls the dudes over there. So the other day, the guys came over there, because Marina Del Rey, they got rats. When I'm sitting in the backyard enjoying a cold one by my swimming pool, and just kind of enjoying the what's January weather up here.
Right.
The highlight of your day is like the other day I was watching a possum cross the power line. Normally it's a rat, but this was a big possum, and it's the first possum I'd seen up there. But they'll get on those power lines, and then they'll go through just any little crawl space that they can find. So those guys who come over, and they bring all the wire mesh and stuff like that, and basically they patch up all the holes in your house, all the vent things, and to keep the rats out. Well, it turns out when it got up there, the lady we bought this house from about 8 years ago had jerry-rigged a few things. And up at the top of the attic, over our bedroom, they hadn't put any insulation down. And our bedroom has always been the coldest place when it's cold and the hottest place when it's hot. And I've been meaning to put insulation up there forever, but just hadn't. Well, it turns out the people that come and do the attic stuff, when they do the cleanup, they also spray in the damn insulation. So today, the guys came over to put the screens up the other day, and then the guys come in today to do the cleanup on the attic because they get all the stuff in there. They wear the mask. They clean all the junk up, and then they spray down a 12-inch layer of insulation. So now my house is properly insulated from the front to the back, and I've been waiting all day long for these guys to get out of here. I only thought it was going to take a couple of hours. I said, man, I got to do a damn podcast. When I was riding around, I said, Kristen was gone all day. And she finally gets back, and I get my damn Range Rover, and she said, what are you going to do? I said, well, I'm going to get on Lincoln, and I'll go down to that psychic advisor, and I'll see if she'll do a podcast with me while she reads my palm and does all the stuff with the tarot cards. So anyway, Lincoln, Washington's all jammed up. So I go the back route. I pass by. I see the psychic advisor, and it's got her phone number right there on the side of the building. So I write the number down. I go around the corner, and I call her. And she says, hello. And she ain't in a real good mood. And I said, yeah, is this a psychic advisor? And she said, yeah. I said, hey, I wanted to come. She goes, do you want a reading? I said, yeah, I'd like to do a reading, but I kind of do a one-man radio show, and I'd like to record you reading my future in my palm for the podcast. She goes, oh, I don't really do that. I said, well, I'd be willing to pay you for your time. She goes, well, I don't really think that's right. I'd have to charge you about $300 or $400 for that. And then, I told her, I said, well, let me tell you your future. You ain't going to get my $300 or $400. I said, yeah. But she said it with such a tone, I knew that she wasn't going to be open to haggle for the price. So I wasn't going to offer, say, hey, man, how about $150 or $200? So that kind of shot my dreams of getting the psychic reading on for the podcast. So I went over there to the marina, and I was sitting there looking at the water, and I did my reads for the show. And I said, well, I had about 8 questions. I had about 8 pages worth of questions right here that people send in the question at steveaustonshow.com. I figured I was just going to read those damn things on the side of the road. Right. Then I started talking, and I was like, man, this ain't worth a damn. Let me go back to the house. I came back to the house. These guys were finally spooling everything up. I got white particles everywhere. I got a black Suburban that's parked in the driveway, and it looks like it's just been painted white. So I got to take that damn thing to the car wash. And I said, you know what? I don't know about doing the damn Q&As right now. I got a Q&A coming up on Thursday on the Unleashed show. I said, man, I got to Skype with somebody. So I started going through my phone, and I'm like, man, I talked to everybody. I said, Dallas. Dallas is a recurring guest. DDP Yoga. I called you last Thursday from the Unleashed show. You put the video on YouTube and it's starting to go viral. How come you was ducking my call? It comes from a 424 area code. Did you think you had a bill collector calling you?
No, I didn't think I was getting a massage, dude.
Oh, come on, man. Getting a massage.
I'm getting a massage. I take care of my body, man.
Dude,
But I came out there and I see Beverly Hills.
man.
I ain't picking up Beverly Hills. Someone trying to sell me something.
Dude,
and I heard it was you. I was like, that's awesome.
Tell me about this massage you're getting, because my wife goes to get a massage about twice a week because she got a bad stack of dimes. She was in a car wreck a long time ago, got whiplash, and then her lower back is kind of cattywampus as well. And I've been meaning to go get a little bit of tissue work done, but I told my wife, I said, because she got this guy that works on her back and her neck, and she goes, you got to go see Neil.
No.
So I wouldn't let the dude do me one time, but I don't know, man. If I got to have somebody rubbing my back, I'd rather be a female. And I didn't think the guy was all in the bag of chips.
I've been telling you for years, Sandy, the best, the absolute best.
The guy or girl,
spitting
Sandy? Okay.
Woman, and just she's one of my closest friends now. I've known her for over 9 years. When I came out there, she is the woman. You know, they got the doc here in Atlanta. That's
right.
A miracle guy, like Yoda. You know, he puts me back in line. But she does the best deep tissue ever.
Yeah, but does she come to the crib, or is she located in Marine?
No, she's too busy. You got to go to her, but I can get you the good rate. You know, not the $200 rate now.
But where's she based out of? How far I got to drive?
Santa Monica and 17th Street and Broadway.
Dude, I can't drive to Santa Monica, get a massage. When you lived here, you lived in a town called Playa Vista. We lived 2.5 miles from each other. And in all the time that I lived here, we basically never saw each other because that's damn near too far to drive in rush hour traffic. Am I right or am I wrong?
No, well, you can be right at times, but when it comes to taking care of my body, I'm going to make sure that I can do the crazy shit that I can do. And deep muscle massage after we killed ourselves, especially, you need it. And if you did the damn, it would help your flexibility, help your strength, everything. I've been telling you for years. I can hook you up this week. Boom.
Man, I don't know if I could drop that kind of coin just to get a rub down.
It ain't a rub down, dude. It's called about you. Your body is so beat up. What are you talking about? Don't you want to be doing things that I'm doing when 58 years old? You're only you 49 now?
Dude, I just turned 50 in December.
Oh God!
I feel like I've been, Dallas. I feel pretty damn good for being 50 and the damage that I put my body through. Sometimes I feel like I've been eat up by a Tyrannosaurus Rex and crapped off a 300-foot cliff. And it's okay until I hit the bottom.
Yeah. It's not the falling. It's
no,
sudden
it's
impact.
falling. It's when I had the sudden impact when I hit the ground.
Right.
But I feel pretty good for the most part.
I'm just telling you, dude, you'd be feeling a lot better. You'd be feeling a lot better if you had Sandy working on you.
You've been gone out of Los Angeles now for what, 2 years?
Yeah, about right around a little over 2.
Now, how you liking it down there in ATL? Do you miss anything at all about Los Angeles?
Well, I just got back there because I took Brenda's daughter out there to get her set for the makeup school and everything she's going to.
Oh, which one did you pick?
The same one that your daughter was going to go to.
Which one, Mud?
The one that's on Highland. The only one that's accredited, the best one. Either way, all I know is the guys who run that place, they were huge fans. They took care of me, took care of her, set her up, got her a place out in North Hollywood, and she's all set up. So I got there. The weather was gorgeous. You weren't there, but the weather was gorgeous. And then I love Atlanta. I love the people in Atlanta. I love the change of weather. I got a crib here that, at some point when you come to Atlanta, you'll see. I mean, it's in LA, it'd be a $2 million crib. It cost me $500,000. I like conveniences and quality of life, and I get this, I'm opening the very first DDP Yoga Performance Center right here, a mile from my house in Smyrna, Georgia, which is right one of the suburbs of Atlanta. And Steve, what I'm doing is I am creating 3 different sound stages for the workouts, the cooking shows, and we got a green screen that's going to be 29 feet long, 16 feet high and 18 feet deep. We're going to be doing some fun, crazy videos. We're going to be doing some working out on the moon. When I do the DDP yoga with kids, I'm going to be doing it with the green screen behind us. It's going to be unbelievable, man. I put everything I own. I'm calling the DDP Yoga Performance Center the house that Shark Tank built. So we're really excited about it, man.
Why do you say that? Was Shark Tank that good of a buzz for DDP Yoga?
I would say that of everything that we've done, I would say if we could add up every dollar we got directly, where people said it was Shark Tank, it would be close to $1.8 million.
Right.
We did $1 million in freaking 6 days in sales. And it's played, it never get that first hit again, but they literally played the show with me and Steve on Shark Tank. They played it 5 times. They even had it in best shows, the best products that didn't get picked up by the sharks. Like, my goal is to become the first $100 million company to come through Shark Tank. And my biggest goal is for it to be a $500 million company. And that's an 8-year goal. But I can say that because what we're building is, like, we've sold 150,000. We're coming up on 150,000 programs. That means they work. And over 20% of our sales every day comes from friends and family. I get a lot of sales from Stone Cold Steve Austin show too. And a lot of people coming on and just putting it over big. So, where I see it going, though, is in this subscription model that we're creating that is going to have more things than people would ever believe that we have, on there. So it's not just the workouts. We teach people how to eat healthy food, how to eat organically, how to eat GMO-free. Whatever they're looking for is going to be there. And we're going to have a lot of really funny stuff, stuff that's entertaining. Like our videos, we got a pretty good follow, man, but wait till you see when we get the green screen. I mean, wow.
So when's this thing going to be completed?
I believe it'll be completed mid-April. So
15? Man, it's fast.
Yeah, yep. Well, I think we'll be totally in there by the end of February. And we'll start filming, and it depends when they finish the production studio.
Dude, y'all broke ground only a couple of months ago.
Oh, yeah, dude, they've been just working their ass off. We built a 2,300 square foot addition that's 22-foot ceilings so that we could spray all the soundproofing,
right? Put
in the light gear, because we got 3 different areas we probably got $50,000 in lights, just the lighting. And we're not done with all that yet because we're building all these sets, the set design, like we've got brick everywhere throughout our, our inside and outside of our building, the cool red brick and stuff. But we just found some really amazing brick, but in the main room, we can't use that because of the sound. So we got the fake brick that looks just like the real brick, which, by the way, costs 3 times more.
Right. Right.
But, that's Hollywood, So we're creating something that, that's going to be a destination. It'll have classes in the morning, classes at night. In the middle of the day, we'll be filming all our stuff. We have 5 edit bays, and we've got a cross switcher, like the truck, like we would have at WWE. You have the truck out back in Kevin Dunn's spot. Guess who's going to be trading for the Kevin Dunn spot?
Who's taking the illustrious Kevin Dunn spot?
Scott Hall wants to be traded for that spot because he's all about getting behind the camera now.
Scott is?
Scott is, yep. Him and a guy named Garrett who work with us, they're both going to be trained for the to be able to go.
Scott came up to you and said, "Hey, I want to be this guy," or did you approach him?
Actually, him and Steve talked about it, and when I heard that, I went to him and I said, "Dude, are you really serious?" He's like, "Yeah, I am." He goes, "I think it would be awesome." He goes, "I love being behind the camera." So until the WWE picks him up, because at some point I believe they will, because he's got a great mind for the business, and it's a sober mind now. That's the only way that they would ever take him. And I believe that eventually they will staff him up because they don't have a lot of experience on this shit stuff that he's doing for us,
Right.
So it's just all the behind the camera stuff that, and he loves that. Like, he'll come, like, every time we're shooting videos, he's there. He'll do his little bit parts at times, but he's always giving me advice. Okay, Dally, look this way, turn this way when you do this. Like, I get a lot of my direction from him.
Alexa isn't the only one with breaking news. Make sure to hang around at the end of this podcast for the latest breaking headlines on the AP News Minute.
Coming soon to Podcast One, the GG Podcast with Rick Fox, Jace Hall, and Todd Roy. Log on to see the world behind the esports you love and find out what good game really means from the trio who's taken the business by storm, including the 3-time NBA champion behind Team Echo Fox. Download new episodes of the GG Podcast every week on Apple Podcasts and Podcast One.
This is the Steve Austin Show.
Your boy, Macho Man Randy Savage, is going to the Hall of Fame. What'd you think when you heard that news?
I'm a mark for the Hall of Fame thing. I think it's awesome. I love the deal, everything about it. Randy should have been in there, we all know 20 years ago. But, he's finally in. So, I would have loved to seen him be there to do the acceptance speech. I'm sure Lanny will get that spot. I was proud for him, even though, he should have been there years ago. I was happy for his family. Because it ain't the Hall of Fame really until you put Randy in there. He's one of the all-time greats. And I tell you, I wasn't really crazy about the tribute video that they did on Raw, though. I thought, God, they had so much to work with. I thought that, like, Scott Hall's last year, I thought was awesome. I mean, that one they did for him, I thought that was really great.
Well, I've been getting a little bit of feedback on my email, and I get a lot of people that are surprised that Hogan is the one that's inducting him because allegedly there was a lot of heat there for a lot of years, and all of a sudden now, okay, everything's all hunky-dory, but that's only one side of the story because we can't hear Savage's. What were your thoughts on the fact that Hogan's putting him in?
Well, I was actually at TNA. I wasn't wrestling then. I'd stopped by to see some of the boys, and Randy had come in, and that's when he was hanging out with Brian Adams, who I loved. That was a great guy.
Right.
And really, really, really funny. But those two were hanging out together, and Randy was coming in. I guess he was talking to them about doing something, and Hulk showed up that day. And, like, dude, I just happened to be standing in the exact spot as Randy was right off to me to my right, and Hogan came in, and I watched him walk up to him and put his hand out, let's shake hands or whatever. He told me, because I couldn't hear what he said, but I know he put his hand out. And he said, Randy, let's bury the hatchet and shake hands or go outside and do this. Whatever. That's what Hulk said he said. So I don't know what he really said because, it sounded right to me at the time. But I watched Randy look at him and just storm off. So I got to know Hogan when I was in WCW, and I think that you run out of time sometime with your friends. Maybe if you would have got in his car and drove over to Randy's house, maybe that would have been all it took. Who knows? All I know is, you've heard me tell the story before when I called him up and thanked him on Thanksgiving, and how he acted to me when he saw me the next time, just gave me the big hug and, it told me how much it meant to him. I was just calling to say thank you. You don't know how stuff, ends, but, I try to, not stay mad at my friends, and I know those guys went through a lot of stuff. So I think Hulk will really do him justice in the induction. I think he'll put him over big time and maybe say all the things he wish he could have said to him.
When you hit your hot streak there in WCW, I mean, we were kind of running a parallel because I got hot about the same time. And then you were working with a lot of top talent, and, it was, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, those guys stepping up for you and putting you in that spot. But, a testament to your hard work. Out of all the guys that you ended up working with down there or in your career, as far as just work in the ring goes, who would you consider the best guy you ever worked with?
That's a tough one because I wouldn't say best you know, like I think of someone like, you know, Ric Flair would be one of the best,
right.
you know, without question, you know. But it's like, who jived with you the best?
Talking about chemistry.
Like, yeah, chemistry, you know. And,
okay,
and
then who'd you have the most chemistry with?
I had great chemistry with Randy, obviously. You know, I had great chemistry with Sting. Because it didn't matter if we were both babyface, I'm turning myself heel like right away. You know, I want to get these people to. But my favorite match, bro, ever on Nitro, and they featured it on the first Best of Nitros, is when I dropped the strap to Sting at the first quarter hour at 9 o'clock.
Right.
And what happened during the match, and you'll appreciate this, you know, you were going home. Like, we're going home. And Charles Robinson says, D, you got 5 more minutes. And at that time, Sting was going through some stuff at home or whatever. He was a little edgy around that time. And not normally was he ever like that. I went to my knees and I go to grab him and throw him to the floor. And he's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Because he knows, like, we're going home. We go out to the floor and you'll see at some point, like, it takes me a while because he's fighting me. He's mad. He's like, he thinks I'm taking advantage of him.
Right.
And I friggin' choke him. And I go, we got 5 more minutes, monkey. And I just chop the hell out of him. You know, it was the best match I ever had. I think as far as the chemistry, the false finishes, and we had worked together, you know, a number of times. We didn't do a program together, but we'd worked together a number of times. So it was amazing being in there and having that, you know, relationship with him in there where I could say what I wanted to do. You know, there he fought me, but we got to the end. It was like the biggest pop on the planet, man. When I went for the diamond cutter and I had him hold onto the ropes, and then I went for it again, and he held onto the ropes and hooked me and walked me out, bang, and hit me with the death drop he did. And you know what? You know who I love to work with though, and you appreciated his work, was Canyon. Canyon was awesome to work with because he was like a younger me, and we had worked down the power plant so many times together. It was it was like I didn't even have to push him. I knew exactly where he was going all the time, and vice versa. And I love working with Raven. I had great chemistry with Raven and Benoit. You know, Eddie Guerrero, another, like, wow. Okay, Eddie might have been, you know, Nate, if he was, you know, when he was younger, you know, could do anything. And his, you know, just his mental, you know, for him to have done the, you know, the number for me, the job for me in the middle on my first title reign, you know, was huge to me. A clean diamond cutter, bang, you know. But Eddie Guerrero out there, you know, did you get the chance to work with Eddie much?
Man, I got a chance. I requested to work with Eddie because, you know, it was kind of, I can't remember what period of my career it was, but I was just feeling flat, burned out. And, you know, I was always I think everybody was a big fan of Eddie's work. If you weren't, there was something wrong with you. So I requested to work with Eddie, and we got to work, man, a handful of times on a loop, and then they shut it down, and I had to go back with some other guys just, you know, for the card. But yeah, but Eddie was phenomenal.
Oh, we did this one move, and I came up. You know, I used to do a spinning salto. I'd shoot the guy off, and I'd bend over, and I'd grab him by the waist, and I'd spin him around and land on him. Eddie, I don't even know how we did it, but I went to pick him up and took him into a spinning power bomb and turned it into a spinning salto. You know, it's like there's 2 guys that could do that: Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio.
Right.
You know, I would love to have worked with Ray. I never had a chance to work with Ray, but he was, you know.
But you also had some hellacious matches with Goldberg, and that was another one of your best matches. So how was it working with him?
You know, Billy really, after we got actually out there in front of the people, because again, you know, guys are on top. You know, when you're giving them, you know, like Scott Hall said this to his son Cody, like, knowing how to do the moves is one thing. Getting the guy to do them with you is a whole nother. You know, and that's a lesson he's learning right now in Japan. But with Goldie, he did not want to miss the spear. And that was his thing, you know. I mean, he really got the spear over like nobody did.
Yeah, he did.
And what happened was they're giving him one guy after another to eat, right, to beat. And they're building this streak, and it's coming on its way to me. And they can't keep feeding the boys to him, so they bring in this guy who's 370, then a guy who's 450, then they bring in a guy who's like 500+ pounds. There's none of those guys taking a flat back bump. So Goldberg had to really spear him, right?
Right.
So we get there, routing them, you know, and I finally convinced them. The first one, you're going to miss it. And it's a shot where he throws me in the turnbuckle and he comes running. I hit him with a boot, right? And then I know he's going to come at me and spear. And as he's coming, I throw myself over the top rope and literally miss him by a fraction of an inch, or he just plowed me. So he hits his shoulder on the turnbuckle piling there. So he hit the pole. So I see him fall out to the floor. I go around, pick him up, throw him in. He's blown sky high. So I grab a hold. We come out of it. And when I go to do the spear again, as I turn into it, I'm going to be a napkin. Like,
right.
You don't even touch me. I'm gone. So I also, rumor had it from the big show that Goldie had broke Show's sternum from a spear, right? So you can bet your butt, man, my arms are crossed, my fist is tight, I'm already gone. Now, if you watch that move right there as he spears me, you will see in slow motion, you will see his head has passed me, a lot like what happened to you with Owen. And if he didn't have those used traps, it'd have been the same thing. He spiked his own head into the ground. I barely felt anything. And he's out, but I don't know it. So he hooks me for the gimmick, his jackhammer, and he hooks me with one arm. So he's still selling the shoulder, but I think it's a shoot, you know? So he picks me up and he puts me down. And I thought, oh my God, he's selling for like the first time, like really selling. So then when he picks me up and I drop behind, catch him and hook him with a diamond cutter, man. Wow. I mean, that could have been the end right there. Everybody would have bought it. And, he didn't, of course. He kicked out on 2. I was so mad.
Yeah.
And then we went into the finish, blah, blah, blah. I go to the back. I go, Bill, what the beep? I go, what were you doing, cop, kicking out on 2? He goes, D, I don't remember anything since the spear. He was completely knocked out on his feet the whole time. And totally believable by his mannerisms that he was out there because he wasn't really himself.
Right.
But that just shows you the intestinal fortitude we've got in the back of our brain. Even though the front brain says you're unconscious, the back brain says keep going.
Right?
You wouldn't know anything about that, though, would you?
No, I don't think about that. Hey, man, before we wrap this thing up, you were never a big ribber in the business.
Nope.
What was the worst that you were ribbed?
I never had anything really done to me because I had my locker, my bag, chained to the locker. But my whole thing was, I'm not selling anything. One time my yoga mat disappeared. I just went and bought another one. I'm not selling anything because I rode with this guy, Cactus Jack and Stunning Steve Austin. These guys used to rib me so bad.
Yeah, that was mainly Mick. That was mainly Mick. He was always the one. He would say, "Hey kid, let's see how long it takes us to crack him." So it was always Mick's idea. I gotta put the heat on Mick because it's a true story. If you call Mick, if I was to get him on a 3-way call and say, Mick, who was the guy that always put it up to see which one of us could crack DDP? It was Mick.
But I'm telling you, bro, you guys taught me you don't sell anything. And it was like, it's not something I want to do. I don't want to do. I've seen some, some bad stuff, we won't talk about on this show.
Right. But just one of the minor ribs, I mean, it was a serious rib, but it was G-rated, was if you were wearing a pair of jeans, the guy would just tie one knot into the leg of your pants, and like Davey would get on one end and maybe Owen would get on the other end, and they'd pull it so tight. Or two guys, when you put that single knot into a pair of jeans and you're in a hurry to get, take a shower and get out of the building, get on down to the next shot, I mean, it could take you forever if you ever got that knot out of your blue jeans. And then, you had your standard fare stuff. If you was at a high school or auditorium, whatever, if there was just a combination lock or any kind of lock that wasn't locked, it was going on somebody's belt loops. And sometimes they just put it on a single belt loop. Other times they gathered all the belt loops together so you couldn't even put your pants on. So, and then, then you got to break out a pocket knife, start cutting belt loops.
Right.
And those are some of the minor ones that I thought.
Right. Just for me personally, my whole gimmick is I don't rib. I don't get ribbed. And I'll sit back. I'll laugh. I'll take a good chuckle as good as anybody, but, and then there was, there's other ribs too, where they're meant to really physically hurt, but hurt them in some way, like screw with them. And that to me, that's bad karma to me, No.
A malicious rib is not funny to anybody, in my opinion. So I was never one of the guys that was into that. It's funny. DDP, through the power of editing, there was about a 30-second period of silence where I hit a wall. I've hit a wall for the last few days, especially with all these people being over my house trying to fight these damn rats. Over at the Broken Skull Ranch, we're trying to fight the PED rats who are taking over the Broken Skull. But now over here in Marina Del Rey, these guys are kicking the hell out of me. And so there I am over at the marina trying to do a damn show out of my car. In Dallas, I'm a global icon and a national treasure, and I'm sitting in my damn SUV trying to crank out a podcast. It's beyond ridiculous. I'm thinking about running some cameras over here. I need to get a couple of cameras over here at the 316 Gimmick Street crib and create a little bit of reality over here.
I think you should. Didn't somebody come by you recently? Didn't somebody come by and filming some stuff with you? Who did that? They just told me the other day.
Damn, what were we filming?
No, you were filming. They were filming somebody. They were filming somebody, and they Buff. Did Buff come over and film some stuff or something?
No. I've been meaning to talk to him. Have you talked to him lately?
I haven't talked to him. I had talked to his manager. Talked to his manager, Kevin.
Yeah.
They wanted me to do some shot.
Yeah. He was, I guess he's right in the middle of making that docu-shoot video.
A docu-shoot?
Yeah.
About his life?
I guess like a shoot video, but it's documented with a lot of B-roll footage and stuff like that.
Interesting. Buff, this is no lie. Buff called me up. He a while back, he's been sober for a while now. But Buff had a problem with pills because that's just part of, everybody knows that. The guy who was the judge where he goes to, he must have seen that the HBO special that we did, the real sports. So you gotta imagine, Buff is there in front of the judge. And, he just don't want to do jail time because, he didn't mean, it wasn't like he was drinking and driving, but now you got pills in you, you're the same thing.
Right.
The judge says to him, if you can get Diamond Dallas Page to come here and you can start working with his program, he goes, I'll consider not putting you in jail. And I was like, what? Like, where did that come from? And then we found out that the judge had seen the Real Sports Show, about the thing with Brian Gumbel.
Right.
Buff calls me up, come on, D, will you come down with me? So me and Jake got up like at 7 in the morning and went down and bailed his ass out. But, from there, it helped him, get him back straight again. And, he's doing really good. That Gigolo show, I guess that's all the work. It is what it is. But, he found a way to reinvent himself. So hats off to him, man. So now he's doing a docu deal. That's cool. I'll be interested to see it.
Let's get some props to our friends over at TrueCar for supporting the podcast from day one. With TrueCar, 60 seconds is all you'll need to get an offer for your car. And the amount of time it takes to floss your teeth, pet your dog, and do a few push-ups, you can get a true cash offer. Best of all, you can do it from your smartphone or even from home. Just go to TrueCar and simply enter your license plate number and watch how your car's details pop up. Answer a few questions, and you'll get an accurate true cash offer from a local TrueCar certified dealer. It's that easy. After that, you can bring your car in and they'll check it out with you. Together, you can ask questions and get the answers you need so there's no surprises. Then, simply leave with your check or trade in your car for a new ride. So when you're ready to experience a better way to sell or trade in your car, check out TrueCar today. True cash offer, not available in all areas. And hey, man, you're going to need some car insurance for that vehicle. Go to geico.com, and in 15 minutes, you could be saving 15% or more on car insurance. That's right. Save hundreds of dollars on car insurance at geico.com. Extra money in your pocket? It may just be the most rewarding thing you do today. All right, I'm giving Sean a go-home cue, so let's wrap it up for this week. Make sure you check out PodcastOne.com and subscribe to The Steve Austin Show so you don't miss any of these classic episodes. Before I ride off in the sunset, I do want to throw out a couple of plugs. I still got a beer. It's the badass Broken Skull IPA, the finest IPA in the United States of America, and that's the bottom line. Made by El Segundo Brewing Company. You can find Broken Skull IPA at Whole Foods and Total Wines if you live in Cali. If you ain't in Cali, you're probably SOL. And if you're looking to get a badass pocket knife, I got two for you. Cold Steel Broken Skull Knife, Cold Steel Working Man Knife. Get them at my Amazon store. Amazon.com/shop/Steve Austin, or go to the Cold Steel Knives website and check out all their badass knives. Also, one more big shout out to all my sponsors to make this show possible. That's how I'm able to bring this show to you free twice a week. Please support them because they support us. For more info, check out the podcast description to this episode for details. Folks, I am on social media, Twitter and Instagram, at Steve Austin BSR. Folks, I'll be back soon, but until then, my name is Steve Austin, and I will catch your ass down the road.
This has been a Podcast One production. Download new episodes of The Steve Austin Show every Tuesday at PodcastOne.com. That's PodcastOne.com.